The fight or flight response, also known as the fright fight or flight response, the stress response, hyperarousal, and also the acute stress response, was first described by Walter Cannon in 1915. When a person is in a normal, calm, relaxed state, the body functions in what is known as the relaxed state or relaxation response. When the brain perceives danger, a message is sent from the sensory cortex of the brain through the hypothalamus to the brain stem. The root of this message increases mental awareness and the person becomes more alert and attentive to their environment. The physiological reaction to this message occurs even before the person's brain has time to consciously and intelligently assess the situation. This means that when there is a perceived threat to the well-being of the person, the fight or flight reaction commences before the person is really aware of exactly what the threat is or the level of danger it presents. So the system acts before it thinks to provide the fastest possible response to danger. This situation is associated with specific physiological actions in the system, both directly and indirectly, through the release of several brain chemicals, including adrenaline and norepinephrine from the adrenal glands. Once these hormones are released into the body, they facilitate immediate physical reactions associated with the preparation for violent muscular action, to flee from or fight the perceived threat. These reactions include heart rate speeds up, breathing speeds up and becomes shallow, digestion stops, constriction of blood vessels in many parts of the body, liberation of nutrients for muscular action, dilation of blood vessels for increased blood flow to the muscles. Blood and glucose rush to the muscles. Tear and saliva production cease. Pupils dilate and peripheral vision expands. There's relaxation of the bladder and sometimes evacuation of the colon. Sexual functions cease. Blood pressure and pulse rate increases. Adrenal secretions flush into the bloodstream. Muscles tense for action. The mind moves into survival mode, making it impossible to think clearly. Within seconds, the body, full of energy potential, is realized so one can deal effectively with the perceived threat, either by fighting it or fleeing from it. In prehistoric times, the fight response was manifested in aggressive, combative behavior, and flight was manifested by fleeing from potential threatening situations, such as being confronted by a predator. The fight or flight response is an essential survival mechanism that keeps us alert and ready to respond to the best of our physical ability when threatened. Without the fight or flight response, we would be vulnerable and our chances of reacting quickly and with maximum power would be significantly decreased. However, living in modern societies, humans don't often encounter the kinds of emergencies that require large amounts of physical effort, as they once did. Yet the human body still provides stress responses to perceived emergencies. Humans, therefore, often find their stress response activated in situations where physical action is inappropriate and unnecessary. For example, in traffic jams, when deadlines loom at work, and when bills arrive in the mail. In most cases, once our fight or flight response is activated, we can't flee and we cannot fight. When we are faced with modern-day predators, we have to sit in our offices and control ourselves. We have to sit in traffic and deal with it. We have to wait until the bank opens to handle that bounced check. In short, many of the major stresses we encounter today trigger the full activation of our fight or flight response, but we're unable or it is inappropriate for us to take the physical action required to release us back into normal function via the relaxation response. In an appropriate stress response situation, when the perceived threat is gone, for example, once the predator has been outrun or fought off, our systems are designed to return to homeostasis, normal function, via the relaxation response. But in our modern times of chronic stress, this often doesn't happen and we remain in the fight or flight reaction for prolonged periods, causing serious damage to the body. Stress responses are also sometimes a result of emotional disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorder, in which the individual shows a stress response when remembering a past trauma, and panic disorders in which the stress response is activated by fear of the future or the catastrophic misinterpretations of bodily sensations. Inappropriate and extended activation of the stress response in humans can cause long-term negative physiological and psychological damage. Here are just some of the diseases associated with prolonged stress response. Alcohol and drug dependencies, anorexia, anxiety and panic disorders, asthma, allergies, skin diseases, cancer, chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain, constipation, colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, depressed immune system, increased likelihood of colds and infection, depression and suicide, diabetes, difficulty maintaining sexual arousal, loss of libido, difficulty urinating, bladder infection, bladder disease, erectile dysfunction, fibromyalgia, headaches and migraines, heart disease and heart attack, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, hypertension, joint pain, multiple sclerosis, muscle stiffness, backaches, neck pain, sleep disturbances, stroke, ulcers, and digestive disorders. However, through the use of relaxation techniques, including meditation, we can learn to recognize when we are going into fight or flight earlier and activate the relax response sooner. This means we experience less stress and less ill health. By doing so, we can think more clearly, make better decisions, have lower blood pressure, better digestion, less muscle tension, and a healthier balance of natural chemicals in our bodies.